Hi, welcome back to the Cuzzy Sound channel. And what I've decided to do is a bit of an epilogue to the Project 9 DIY Modular Analogue Synth series that I've just pretty much completed with the last video. So kind of look at where it started and where it went and potentially where it could go. So where it started, well, the aim of the Project 9 modular project was to take what I'd learned building my little boxes and try and put that into a recognisable kind of all-in-one synth that could be used to produce electronic music, which in turn could possibly be used in some of my prog rock tracks that I do on another channel. So that was the aim, and I think, bearing in mind that I've got a synth that does actually produce electronic music, and I have actually used it on some of my more recent prog rock tracks, well, yeah, pretty much achieved the aims of the project. Is it all good? No, it wasn't all good. I'll go through each of the various modules that make up the synth and kind of look at what worked, what didn't work, and maybe think about where it could go. But we start with the VCOs, because the thing is as well that in doing this it taught me a lot about signal paths in synthesizers, not just modular synthesizers, but you know, even if you've got a kind of a standard synth that's non-modular, but you still have to understand what the signal path is if you're going to actually create a sound that you're aiming for. So this was part of the learning curve on this as well, and I learned a hell of a lot of that. And of course any signal path on the synth is going to start with the VCOs. There's the two main VCOs on Project 9, if you remember, are a 555 square wave, triangle wave VCO. Problem with that one is the CV control that I've chosen to use by going on the CV input pin 5 on the chip is a bit limited, and the output's pretty powerful. What it's good at, it's great at gritty bass lines. I really do like some of the nice gritty bass lines I've got out of that. The Avalanche oscillator, lovely sound. I do like the sound of the Avalanche oscillator. The downside of the Avalanche oscillator is that, and particularly at 9 volts, I'm really on the limit of what those transistors are able to achieve. And the output is a bit low really, it needs boosting. Yeah, it's difficult to get it right in the mix. The noise oscillator, yeah, that failed. Moving on. The LFO. Now, the LFO, finding the LFO circuit, that was great. I do like the LFO. I use it quite a bit, get some really good effects out of it. The only thing I would change, probably, I think its frequency range is a little too limited. I'd like a wider frequency range, going a bit slower and probably not much faster, but yeah, increase the range. That's pretty much the VCOs. The Victrols, love the Victrols. They're a little bit softer than a powered VCA, which I quite like, and by God, they're cheap and cheerful and dead easy to put together, and I'd just fill a whole box with them if I could. They're really good. Envelopes. Okay, the envelopes didn't come from the Little Boxes series. Didn't build an envelope into a little box. However, finding that particular circuit, running it off a 9 volt system, I'm really pleased with the outcome of that. I get some really good effects from it, some great sound shaping, and for me they are indispensable. Flipping pages over here, I've made some notes. me get through this without gibbering too much like I'm doing now. Right, okay, filters. High pass filter, yeah, in its current format, pretty useless. But it could be developed, there could be some potential there, change the frequency range, see what happens. But yeah, again, filters in this, they're all, as you remember, they're all passive, so again, the passive nature of them makes them very limited. They're basically just tone controls. Having said that, the low pass filters, particularly with the 555 VCO, work really, really well. Because of the grittiness on the 555, you can almost fool yourself into thinking there's some resonance going on there, and there isn't. I mean, and that's the downside of these filters. There is cut off, but that's because you're throwing stuff away. There's no boost, and there is definitely no resonance built in there. The patch bay. The patch bay is nice and convenient. I use it a lot for splitting up things like gate signals and sharing CV. I think the only thing that I would change on that at the moment, it's just sockets wired together. I think I would, if I built another one, I'd use some buffering in there. You know, just stick some op amps in just to kind of clean things up and prevent some of the crosstalk. That's pretty much. I mean, the case and power supply, they work really well. The aluminium panels, they work really well. I still continue to use that format. So yeah, I think there's more positives and there's a lot more success than failure. What would I change? Okay, the VCOs. Well, one of the things I've been playing with is 4046 VCOs and running them on 9V, and I really like those, and I think I would probably, if I was going to build another Project 9, then I'd probably use a couple of those to replace the 555 and the Avalanche. A lot more controllable, decent output, and with a little bit of jiggery pokey, I might be able to actually reshape the output and produce something like a pseudo triangle as well as a square, a bit like what I did with the 555. So that's what I would do there. The Vactrols, I'll keep the Vactrols. As I said earlier, I love the Vactrols and the envelopes. Definitely at least 2 Vactrols and 2 envelopes. You know, one for each oscillator if you're going to have a 2 oscillator synth. Filters. I'd look and see whether I could actually find an active filter that would work on 9V, preferably one that might give me some resonance. Whether that's possible, I've not really looked into that. That said, if I couldn't find that, I'd still just stick a couple of passive low pass ones in, because yeah, they still have a usable effect. Noise, ditch the noise. It really doesn't need noise. Not for what the concept for this particular synth is. Anything I'd add? Yeah, I think I would put an onboard mixer in there, just a very simple 2-channel, maybe 3-channel if it was feeling a bit generous, simple buffered mixer system with an output that gave me a 3.5 jack out and maybe a 1/4 jack out as well, so I could stick it straight into mixers or effects pedals or whatever. So that's kind of a bit of a summary as to where we've got, what I've learnt, and maybe what I would change. Is there a future for Project 9? Well, being as though I'm doing an epilogue, it kind of suggests that the epilogue comes at the end. Is this the end? Well, maybe, based on what I've said about the changes and things, and how the fact that I still enjoy using it, perhaps there could be a Mark II. Dual 4046, Vactrol VCA, envelopes, LFO, patch bay mixer, filters. Project 9 Mark II. It's all, once again, still running on a single rail 9V system. So very, very simple. The other thing about it as well is it doesn't follow 1V per octave, but given what the kind of concept for this synth is, I think in this format it doesn't need 1 volt per octave, and especially if you plug it into something like a Baby 8 sequencer, then the Baby 8 sequencer isn't 1 volt per octave either, but you can tune each step so that the output actually follows some kind of chromatic scale. So you can set sequencers running, you can do nice bass lines, and drones and things. Do you really need the 1 volt per octave? Not if you're willing to put a little bit of time and effort into basically just tuning things by ear and twiddling the controls, which I pretty much do most days because it's fun. So yeah, there you go. That's the Project 9 Modular Analogue Synth DIY. This series has given you everything you need to know about building one, and a few ideas as to kind of directions you could take it. So yeah, why not? Go on, have a go, build your own.